self-esteem where they think, if someone said this to me, I'd want to fight them or kill them or squish, because it's an old trigger that's an esteem piece. It's like something someone called you. It's like some fear. You saw someone else being called that and you thought, if anyone ever called me this, it would freak me out. And it's a third chakra issue. It's about your self-esteem. Now, what's hidden behind that is a release and power and a way that you could play where you could actually use it for pleasure. All right? You might not believe me right now. I'll just give an example. When I was little, I was slut-shamed. Like, I was a very precocious little girl. I was very interested in sexuality from the time I was 5, 6, 7. And then when I was a teenager. I had my first orgasm when I was about 12 or 13 years old, slow dancing with a boy who rubbed his knee against my mouth. And this thing happened to me. I swooned. I didn't know what it was. No one told me orgasm. So I'm like 12 or 13, this boy rubs against me, this thing happens to me that no one told me could ever happen to me. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I wanted it again. And again. But what was I going to do at 12 or 13? So when I so I can remember going to kiss someone when I was like 14 or 15, and I put my tongue in his mouth, and he was just like, that was too much. So I got slut-shamed. I didn't get the word, but I knew that I was being too aggressive for a girl. Girls don't do that. Good girls, nice girls, whatever we are, we don't do that. So I then had to put that away. Many times in my life, I had to put it away. My curiosity, my drive, my wanting to feel that swoony feeling again. So now, if I were to say to a partner, call me a slut, like, really, call me a slut, I could really get off on that. Like, I could just go like, yeah, call me that. I am. You know, like that. I can turn it and make it so pleasurable. But I would not have believed that when I was 12, 13, 14. Do you know what I mean? But I'm an adult now, and I actually can see that that very thing that scared me and I was afraid to go towards can now be so hot.
There is a positive end to humiliation play, but it won't be as immediate as it was with physical pain. So I don't want to give you the expectation that it is exactly the same time frame. So this is an invitation if you want to explore it. If you don't want to explore it, it's totally fine. This is more advanced play. It is much more painful. Our emotional pain is a lot more painful than our physical pain. What may happen if you go into humiliation play is similar to something that happens to you in emotional release, which is something gets triggered. Now it comes up, and now you're upset, now you're crying. So the invitation in humiliation play is a longer one. Like, do you actually want to go in there and pull out these thorns that are sitting in your system? And one session is not going to do it.
We're more attached to the emotional ones and those triggers and actually not letting them go. Like, somehow our identity is wrapped up in them. So we get attached to them, and that's why we do carry so much emotional pain. It's like part of who we are.
Another way to really frame this is something you truly, truly believe about yourself. You believe this thing about your self-worth. It's in you. It's a belief.
I'm really unlovable. No one will ever love me.
I'll never get what I want.
I'll never get what I want.
I'm ugly. I'm too fat. I'm too stupid. Most people find me dull. All of it. I deserve the abuse I got. I deserve the sexual abuse I got. I deserve the beatings I got from my parents. All of it. And these are very painful sore spots in your system. And you, I, all of us, we do believe these statements. If we did not believe them, it was almost like they would not have any place to lodge in our system. The fact that they're lodged in our system is what makes it a belief. It's a belief. It's in our system. And humiliation play is a deliberate way of going and dislodging this belief. But it may not get dislodged the first time around. But it is a belief. It is invented. It is an interpretation you made up when something hurtful happened. And now you believe that interpretation. And if and when it gets, if and when it gets released, you will find a new freedom, because however this was running your life or limiting you won't be there anymore. This code won't be there anymore. So if you believe whatever, I'm too unattractive, there will be a whole set of people you will never approach. That person's way too hot for me. If the belief goes, your behavior will change accordingly. So this is what will happen. Your traumas will get converted to turn on when your traumas are healed. So, at one point, got slut shamed. The first time, if back then somebody had called her a slut, it would have hurt more. But if you work through it and you come out on the other end, you can claim it. And emotions are very complicated. The dark truth is this, that even while you're being humiliated, chances are you'll feel a little wet and turned on. Because we are strange creatures. And we eroticize our trauma and everything goes into our sex. But certainly the more release you feel, the more you will claim it for your turn on. And humiliation, humiliation is a big word for people. It means the emotional energy we are referring to as humiliation has a lot of concentrated power. And anything that has a concentrated power, once you release it, that's reclaiming power, and that's reclaiming it for Eros and life. Right? The more places I can get humiliated, or the more places I'm terrified of getting humiliated, the smaller I'm going to be in this world. Because I'm going to be afraid I'll get killed. Yeah? For it. Eventually someone's going to hit me here, and it'll be too much. I don't want to put myself out there. And the more of my own stuff I've dealt with, in a way, the more invulnerable I am. Because I can play, I can engage, and I get hit, I'll get back up and I'll re-engage. In your own way, how can you be a freight train like that in the world? How can you be unstoppable in the world? And one way you can do that is pull out these self-doubts about your esteem, about your power, about what you deserve. This will be a whole other spiritual talk if we get into how, where you consider yourself missing in esteem is where you find yourself lacking in deserving. And where you find yourself lacking in deserving, nobody can get in. Your lovers can't give you that which you feel you don't deserve. You understand? It's like a gateway.
What makes you feel